Good morning, I'm Christian Hall. We're coming to you live this Wednesday, 15th day of October, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. The Office of the Ombudsman has once again allowed public access to the Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALNs, of government officials. In a statement, the agency affirmed the public's right to scrutinize how officials manage their wealth, calling transparency a key safeguard against corruption and abuse of power. Preparations for the big one are being ramped up not only by national government agencies but also by local government units or LGUs. Joining us later to talk more about this, we have San Juan City Mayor and League of Cities of the Philippines President Francis Zamora. And survey results indicate public outrage at the corruption that plagued flood control projects, and alongside this, a separate poll revealed a drop in the public's trust ratings for President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, the International Criminal Court has disqualified prosecutor Karim Khan from handling the case against former President Rico Duterte over a possible conflict of interest. ICC appeals judges granted the Duterte defense's request, citing Khan's previous role representing the Philippine Human Rights Commission in communications that named Duterte as a suspect in the drug war killings. Khan, who already stepped aside in May amid a UN probe into alleged sexual misconduct, has been barred from taking part in what remains the ICC's only major active case. The case is now being led by Deputy Prosecutor Mame Mandiaye Nyang. Duterte, who was arrested in March, faces charges linked to thousands of killings during his administration's anti-drug campaign, but continues to assert his detention was unlawful. Vice President Sara Duterte believes the Marcos administration is controlling the narrative in the ongoing investigations into alleged corruption in flood control projects. More in this report.
At a press conference in Zamboanga City, Vice President Sara Duterte accused the administration of being selective in its corruption probes, saying investigations tend to stop once the office of the president is implicated.
Bakit specific yung pag-iimbestiga? Bakit hindi iniimbestigahan lahat ng corruption scandal? Bakit kinokontrol yung kwento sa corruption? Bakit hindi nilalabas lahat ng mga insidente o mga gawain o mga iskandalo sa korupsyon? Bakit pinipili? Kaya natin nasasabi lahat na merong controlling the narrative ay dahil pinipili nila kung ano yung gusto nila imbestigahan.
Duterte also questioned the integrity of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, saying it cannot be fully trusted since it was created by the President himself.
Sinabi ko na yan, diba? Ang ginawa lang kasi ng Pangulo, noong tinamaan siya nung sarili niyang speech na mahiya naman kayo at nagalit yung mga tao, ang ginawa lang niya ay magpalit ng House Speaker at ng President ng Senate at gumawa ng ICI. Pero hanggang ngayon, wala pa rin nananagot. So on the question of integrity, definitely, hindi siya reliable dahil ang Pangulo din ang gumawa.
The Vice President likewise hit Ombudsman Boying Remulla's decision to reopen the formally probe, saying the same must be done for the overpriced DepEd laptops, allegedly involving a company owned by former Congressman Zaldico. Duterte claimed this kind of selective investigation fuels the continuing street protests against corruption. Despite her criticisms, she clarified that she does not support calls for President Marcos to resign.
I never said Marcos resign. Ang sinabi ko, ma'am, unang-una, magpa-drug test siya. May challenge na siya galing kay Attorney Vic Rodriguez. And that is a hanging open challenge na hanggang ngayon ayaw niyang gawin. Na sinasabi ko, that is a betrayal of public trust.
The Vice President also denied having control over Cavite Representative Kiko Barzaga, a known critic of the President.
Hindi ko pakawala si Kiko Barzaga. Sa tingin niyo ba, sa personality ni Congressman Kiko Barzaga, isa siyang tao na mahandle ng kahit sino man? Congressman Kiko Barzaga, he is his own person, he has his own principles, and he has his own free will. And there is nothing wrong at all with what he is doing because, as I said, tayong lahat, we are covered by the freedom of speech and expression. Unfortunately, meron tayong administrasyon na hindi nila matanggap na meron talagang mga tao na number 1, hindi natatakot, at number 2, hindi nabibili ng pera.
Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro dismissed Duterte's claims as all talk and accusations without evidence. She added that President Marcos is addressing corruption issues that the previous administration allegedly ignored.
The Office of the Ombudsman has reopened public access to the statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth of government officials. What does this mean for investigations? More in this report.
It is now easier for the public to request the statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth or SALNs of government officials. The Office of the Ombudsman has officially revoked its 2020 order that restricted access to these documents.
This decision is guided by a simple principle. The public has a legitimate right to know how those in government acquire and manage their wealth.
Permission from the officials themselves is no longer required to view their SALNs. To request a SALN, the public must present at least 2 valid IDs, including 1 government-issued ID, and complete a SALN request form. There is a fee for reproduction and certification as outlined in the new memorandum order, which takes effect 15 days after its issuance this Tuesday.
Obviously, it can help with the lifestyle check to see if there are disproportionate wealth within the ranks.
However, some requests may still be denied. Approval can be refused if the SALN is intended for unauthorized commercial use, if the requester has a history of misusing SALNs, if the request is linked to a harassment case, or if the requester's identity cannot be verified. SALNs of national officials can be requested at the Ombudsman headquarters, while SALNs of local officials are available at the Ombudsman sectoral offices nationwide. The Ombudsman also holds the SALNs of the President and Vice President. SALNs of Senator, members of the House, and the judiciary are no longer under their control, but these offices are encouraged to issue similar directives for public access. Even SALNs from the past 20 years, including those filed under the Duterte administration, are now accessible to the public.
So, even those SALNs po na kasama doon sa previous memorandum circular in the past administration is now open for public viewing.
Former House Speaker Martin Romualdez attended the hearing of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure yesterday. He clarified he was not part of the bicameral conference committee that finalized this year's budget, but said he is willing to share what he knows with the commission. Romualdez submitted an affidavit and said he is ready to return if called again. He also offered to provide his SALN if required. ICI Executive Director Brian Osaka described Romualdez's testimony as helpful, noting that he named other lawmakers involved in the budget process. The former House Speaker also denied allegations that cash, kickbacks, and luggage were delivered to his Forbes Park residence.
Unang-una, nagpapasalamat ako sa ICI. I'm very glad that I was invited to the ICI to share my personal knowledge on the budget process. And of course, any information about the insertions on the flood control. That is the basis of my invitation. It's about facts and evidence and hindi lang political noise or speculations. Kaya the ICI commissioners were able to ask me many questions and I was able to answer it.
It is helpful in the sense na we in a way are medyo napalinaw kung ano yung naging role niya or role ng mga kasamahan niya sa paggawa ng budget. So these people we will be inviting soon to shed light on their participation also in the budget preparation, which also pertains to the alleged anomalous flood projects.
And coming right up, it is not just government agencies, but also LGUs that are intensifying preparations in case the big one hits. We'll discuss that further with San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Noan here in Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. The health department said hospitals are ready to activate their surge capacity should a major earthquake like the big one occur. Secretary Ted Herbosa said each DOH hospital can expand its bed capacity by 10% to accommodate more patients if needed. The DepEd NCR earlier suspended face-to-face classes on October 13 and 14 to disinfect schools and conduct building inspections and earthquake drills. Meanwhile, the League of Cities of the Philippines has called on mayors to step up disaster preparedness. LCP President San Juan Mayor Francis Zamora said cities should be equipped with emergency vehicles and supplies for quicker response. And joining us now to talk more about this, we have San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora, who also serves as the president of the League of Cities of the Philippines. Good morning. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Yes, good morning, Gretchen, and thank you for having me again in your program.
Okay, Mayor, we've faced major earthquakes going along different faults. Bukod nga po dun sa nangyari sa Bogo City na 6.9 at sa Davao na 7.4. Nakaranas rin po ng pagyanig dito nga po sa La Union along the Philippine Fault, 4.4, and in Zambales, the 5.1 earthquake going through the Manila Trench. What are experts telling you about the possibility of the big one happening here, which is predicted to be at 7.2 should it happen?
Yes, Gretchen, alam nyo, honestly, napakahirap talaga malaman kung kailan ba mangyari ang the big one. So ako para sa akin, iba na talagang handa tayo because no one can really say, will it happen this year, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now? No one can really tell. Pero mabuti talaga na handa tayo. That's why, Gretchen, I have called on my fellow mayors all over the country for us to have continuous capacity building in disaster response and preparedness. Yung ating mga earthquake drills, wag nating mamaliitin, wag nating isiping alam na natin ang lahat. Mahalaga talaga na maging muscle memory sa atin. Ano ang dapat natin gawin, saan tayo pupunta ng mga evacuation sites. Yung dock cover and hold, wag nating isiping biro lang ito, dapat seryosohin natin siya because in the event of any earthquake, dapat alam natin anong gagawin. We must not panic, we must stay calm and collected. So iba talaga na meron tayong tamang kahandaan, tamang pagsasanay. We must always be informed and alert.
But have the experts somehow sounded the alarm with you, mayors, na kailangan na po talaga ito pagtuunan ng pansin? I mean, they've been talking about it every time an earthquake occurs, but this time, ano po yung tono ng mga experts natin?
Yung FIVOLS, actually, if you read about what FIVOLS has been saying, sinasabi nila hindi raw connected yung mga earthquakes. But ako, nagtataka, in the last so many years, ngayon lang naman tayo nakaranas ng sunod-sunod earthquakes na ganito kalalakas. So, even if you ask the people who have been dealing with disaster and emergency response, ngayon lang ako nakakita na in the last how many weeks? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Na sunod-sunod talaga at malalakas at iba-ibang bahagi ng ating bansa. So sa totoo lang, nakakatakot, very alarming. And we are seeing that these areas are those that surround Metro Manila. So again, wala talagang makakapagsabi kung kailan ito mangyari. Mabuti lang na handa talaga tayo.
But it has definitely heightened our sense of urgency when it comes to the big one. And speaking of that, how prepared are our cities in Metro Manila? Meron na po ba tayong previous assessment na ginawa? Kasi meron pong study back in 2003 over the impact, should it happen, conducted by JICA. Kamusta naman ang inyong pagsusuri dito nga po sa ating mga buildings, sa ating kahandaan ng mga ospital? What are you seeing here?
Gretchen, ito mahalaga ang ating Republic Act 10121, the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. It is the law that strengthens our country's disaster management system, which mandates a comprehensive, all-hazard, multi-sectoral approach to disaster risk reduction and management. This shifts the response more focused now on prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and recovery. So hindi lang siya response, pre-disaster undertaking na siya. So ito yung dapat i-maximize natin, Gretchen, na bumili tayo ng mga sapat na kagamitan, mga emergency and rescue vehicles and equipment. Gamitin natin ang pondo nito for training, capacity building. So these are things that we have to do. Again, yung ating OBO, binanggit ko na rin sa ating pahayag, yung ating mga offices of the building official, kada LGU merong OBO, Gretchen, dapat masigasig sila na nagsasagawa ng mga structural integrity audit, both sa public and private infrastructure. Meron din tayong National Building Code na sumasakop po sa atin na nakasaad po rito ang mga tungkulin ng mga building owners. So dapat beyond 15 years Kung ang iyong mga buildings, mga structures ay beyond 15 years, ay dapat ay i-recertify ito ng ating mga building officials. And if I may share also, dito po sa San Juan, meron po kaming joint undertaking with COICA, ito yung Korea International Cooperation Agency, kung saan sila po ay magsaset up sa San Juan ng 3 earthquake sensors. So, malaking bagay po ito kasi pag meron tayong ganito mga earthquake sensors, mas ma-detect natin kung meron ng movements within our area. So, again, let us maximize the Republic Act 10121. Ito ay naipasa noong 2010 para nga hindi natin ikagulat na lang kung biglang mangyari nga po ang big one. Dapat talagang handa po tayo.
Ibig sabihin may pondo po tayo pumapasok dito sa Republic Act 10121?
Yes, Gretchen, ang ibig sabihin yan, meron tayong tinatawag na CDRRMF pag tayo ay city. So, meron din PDRRMF kung tayo ay province. So, ito yung Disasters Reduction Management Fund. You can tap into this fund, Gretchen, for pre-disaster response in the preparedness. So, hindi lang pondo na para masabi natin halimbawa may calamity na, nagre-release ng calamity fund. Ito, even prior to the calamity or the disaster, you can really tap into this fund. So this should be maximized. Even the barangays, Gretchen, meron silang BDRRMF. So dapat na magamit ito ng tama.
And speaking of buying equipment, ano po kaya yung dapat bilhin na nagkukulang pa sa ngayon ng mga LGU?
Yes, Gretchen, I don't have with me now yung list ng mga equipment ng mga LGUs. But again, if I can talk about San Juan, meron tayong mga equipment for extrication kung sakaling mag-collapse ang isang gusali, dapat nakapag-extricate tayo ng mga mamamayan natin kung sakaling maipit ang ating mga vehicles that can respond, kung responde kung meron ng mga ganitong kalamidad, halimbawa yung earthquakes, and yung communication system. Kasi kung magkaroon na nga ng malawakang brownout o blackout, kinakailangan nakakapag-communicate pa rin tayo. So, meron tayong paraan through satellite technology to still be able to communicate even if the networks are down. So, again, I call on all my fellow mayors. Sabi ko naman po sa kanila, alam na nila ito, alam ko naman ginagawa na nila ito. Ito po ay munting paalala lamang na dapat patuloy tayong maging masigasig sa paghahanda. Hindi tayo pwedeng magkampante na masabi natin, alam na natin ang lahat. Tuloy-tuloy lang dapat ang pagsasanay natin.
You mentioned the need for capacity building programs. Ano po yung kailangan na kumbaga parang bukod dun sa structural integrity audit, ano pa po kaya yung maaring linya po dun to prepare the staff and officials as well as citizens?
Yes, we can also augment ourselves through the service programs, Gretchen, no? Mahalaga ang the service programs natin. Through the Armed Forces of the Philippines, we can join ang ating Army, Navy, and Air Force Reserves. Anong kahalagahan nito? When you say capacity building, kailangan yung pagsasana, yung kaalaman. We have warm bodies on the ground, Gretchen. Halimbawa, sa barangay level, ang ating mga traffic enforcers, ang ating mga barangay health workers, ang ating mga barangay tanod, pwede silang maging force multiplier. Even ordinary citizens, Gretchen, pwedeng sumali sa reservist program. Para nga, kahit sila mismo, alam nila anong dapat gawin. No? For instance, in an office setting, pag meron tayo mga office employees na sumailalim sa mga capacity building programs, pwedeng sila maging lead kung sakaling magkaroon ng evacuation. Alam nila dapat kung saan dadalhin yung mga empleyado ng opisinang ito, makapag-vacate sila ng maayos. So, it is a combination of learning, it is a combination of proper education, and of course, yung enhancement ng ating mga facilities, ating mga equipment, ating mga emergency response vehicles.
Okay. If you were a resident of high-rise building or mid-rise building, minsan hindi po maiwasan na parang hindi niyo po alam anong gagawin, no? That feeling of helplessness over what you can do to control your environment or the place that you've already bought as a living residence. Paano po kaya when you find questions in the structural integrity of the building, ano po ang pwedeng gawin dito to be able to retrofit? Wouldn't that cost a lot? And who would shoulder that cost? Is it immediately yung developer po or yung pinasahan na residents association?
Okay, Gretchen, una-una, since privately owned yung structure, hindi talaga pwedeng gastusan ng gobyerno yan. Because the government can only spend for government-owned properties. So magiging tungkulin talaga yan ng building owners o ng ating homeowners association depending on their current setup. Yun nga yung binanggit ko kanina under the building code, yung ating national building code. After 15 years, kinakailangan talaga ay magkaroon ng certification muli. So ito yung inaaral po ng San Juan. Ano yung pwede naming i-augment sa current national building code para siguraduhin nga na ang ating mga structures ay nasa-certify at kung sakaling gaya ng binanggit mo, Gretchen, kinakailangan mag-retrofit. Kinakailangan paglaanan ito ng pansin ng ating homeowners association dahil para po yan sa kaligtasan ng lahat ng nakatira po ron sa gusaling na banggit. So these are things that we can further study as local government units. Baka merong mga gaps dito sa ating national building code na pwedeng punuan ng mga local ordinances. This is something that we're currently reviewing. In fact, last Monday, during our executive legislative meeting with our city council and all our department heads and barangay officials, isa to sa mga pinag-usapan namin. Kasi nga baka merong mga gaps. Nag-utos na ako po sa ating Office of the Building Official to conduct structural integrity audits. At dapat equip sila with either a national law or a local law para yung enforcement mas maging maayos.
Dito po sa San Juan, ano po yung nakikita niyong hamon sa inyo kung sakasakaling mangyari po itong the big one? Kung titingnan po kasi natin, marami pong kabahayan. So, hindi naman po matataas yung mga building. Tama po ba? Along San Juan. And where can residents go? Is it an open field or an open space? Which areas are you preparing for that evacuation? And ano po ang mensahe po natin sa mga residente na anxious na po ngayon over these back-to-back earthquakes?
Yes, Gretchen, to answer your question, ang San Juan, mostly residential area talaga kami. Meron tayong areas such as in Barangay Green Hills, Barangay Little Baguio, Barangay Edition Hills. Merong mga high-rise buildings. Also in other barangays, meron tayong mga high-rise buildings din. But mostly mga residential areas nga po tayo. So ang ating mga open spaces, ang ating unang dapat talagang bigyan ng pansin. So for instance, here in San Juan, ang ating open spaces po, ang area ng pinaglabanan, o yan po ang isa sa mga pinakamalaking open space po natin. Ang ating mga schools, halimbawa, Xavier School, of course, meron na football field po rito na malaki na pwedeng paglikasan. And in the Green Hills area, pagdating sa ating mga open parking lots, open parking spaces, yan ay pwedeng maging evacuation sites. So, we always have to determine ano yung pinakamalapit na open space na pwedeng paglikasan ng ating mga mamamayan. So again, each city iba-iba yan, Gretchen. Dapat talaga na-identify yan, dapat clearly naintindihan ng mga mamamayan. Sakali magkaroon ng lindol, dito sila pupunta. At dapat wag magpapanik, dapat alam ko anong gagawin. At pangalawa, sa inyong binanggit po, alam ko po na sunod-sunod ang ating mga nagiging lindol sa ating bansa ngayon. In fact, even up to yesterday, meron pa rin. So, nakikita natin ng pattern na ang ating mga iba't ibang isla sa ating bansa, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, lahat kinamahan na ng lindol. So, kailangan wag tayo magpapanik kung sakaling magkakaroon man ng lindol. Dapat ngayon pa lamang alamin na natin ano ang dapat nating gawin, saan tayo pupunta, At iba na yung handa tayo. No? So ngayon pa lamang dapat maghanda na tayo. And I call on all local government units, even the private sector, Gretchen. For instance, kayo po sa inyong studio, dapat nagko-conduct din po kayo ng inyong mga earthquake drills. Alam din dapat ng mga kawani ninyo saan sila pupunta, saan din ang evacuation.
Tama, maganda pong paalala po yan. Meron din po ba kayong pag-go bag?
Yes, actually, Gretchen, a few months ago, we distributed emergency go bags to all our public school students, 12,500 emergency go bags po yan. We're in the process of procuring for our households. So, ongoing na po ang prosesong yan. At ang mahalaga po, yung mga nilalaman ng go bag, dapat talaga ito yung kakailanganin kung sakali magkaroon ng lindol. But ito, in general, lindol, baha, ano bang emergency, kinakailangan talaga meron tayong emergency go bags. Again, a reminder to all local government units, we can tap into our local disaster risk reduction and management funds. So meron naman tayong pondong nakalaan dyan. But again, I just want to clarify, ang pondong yan, Gretchen, ay dependent sa annual budget ng ating mga local government units. Kasi it is a percentage of our budget. So yung mga mas malalaking city, mas malaki ang kanilang mga
Capacity.
pondo para dyan. No? Yes, correct. So that's something that people will have to understand because nakikita ko rin po, lahat naghahanap na yun ng emergency go bags. But you also have to consider, of course, yung income, yung revenue ng mga local government units po ninyo. Kasi dyan din nakabase ang computation kung magkano ang pondong mailalaan para dito.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa inyong mga paalala. Siyempre, ang inyong paghahanda ay alinsunod din sa ibang mga ahensya, katulad na lang po ng DOH who is also looking at the structural integrity of our hospitals just in case the big one happens. And we do hope to be prepared for that. In the meantime, maraming salamat po for your reminders. We have San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora.
Thank you very much also, Gretchen.
Up next, a state of calamity is now in effect in Davao Oriental following the powerful earthquakes that hit the region. When we come back, Governor Nelson Dayanghirang will join us for an update. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. Davao Oriental has been placed under a state of calamity following the magnitude 7.4 and 6-point earthquakes that struck the province. Governor Nelson Dayanghirang said government agencies were immediately deployed to carry out relief and rehabilitation efforts in affected areas. The declaration allows the provincial government to tap emergency funds and implement urgent interventions to support communities impacted by the quakes. Authorities also urge residents to stay alert and follow guidance from local officials while relief and recovery operations are underway. And to give us an update on the situation in Davao Oriental, we have on the show Governor Nelson Dayanghirang. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Governor. Governor?
Hello,
Andyan
good
po
morning.
kayo?
Good morning po.
Ayun, oo. Good morning, magandang umaga ho. Unang-una ho, kamusta ho ang sitwasyon po dyan sa Davao Oriental? What is the latest number in terms of injuries and casualties? And are you still experiencing aftershocks?
Actually, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po yung mga aftershocks natin, no? So far, as of early this morning, ang number of families affected natin umaabot na sa 176,906. Ang totally damaged houses po natin is nasa 752. Ang partially damaged po natin is nasa 10,629 na po. And as of now, meron po tayong casualty na 3 and meron po tayong total na 294 injured. No, tuloy-tuloy pa po yung assessment natin sa mga structure para masiguro natin na safe yung ating mga kababayan at tuloy-tuloy rin po ang ating pagbibigay ng mga relief assistance sa mga nasalanta ng earthquake.
Okay, ito pong earthquake na nangyari po sa inyo, nasa 7.4, mas malakas po dun sa 6.9 sa Cebu, sa Bogos City. Ano po yung assessment po ninyo doon po sa impact po niya sa inyong rehiyon, sa inyong probinsya po, and assessment of the extent of the damage?
Actually, kung titingnan po ninyo, dahil sa highly populated yung Cebu compared to Davao, province of Davao Oriental, kung meron man kaming mga damage, kung titingnan ninyo, iilan-ilan na mga totally damaged and partial damage compared to the city of Cebu. But sa impact po ng lindol ay napakalakas talaga dito sa probinsya ng Davao Oriental. Then as of now, yung mga pasyente namin sa hospital ayaw pang bumalik sa loob ng hospital na nasa labas lang po sila ng hospital dahil nagkaroon na po sila ng ubya dahil sa hindi lamang aftershock but meron pa pong sumunod na 6.9 na napakalakas rin po na lindol.
So yun po yung pinaka nag-make ng difference, yung siguro yung congestion dun po sa Manay, na epicenter nung earthquake, at yung sa Bogos City mas marami po talagang mga buildings. That, do you think, was the difference maker?
Yes po. Yes po. No, yun ang analysis natin dahil marami ang population sa Bogos City compared sa municipality of Manay.
Nasaan po ang mga residente po ngayon kung marami pong na-damage ng mga kabahayan?
Actually, yung iba pong mga residente nasa iba-ibang evacuation center as of now. No, at tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pagbibigay tulong natin sa mga nabiktima and nagpapasalamat rin ako sa mga iba-ibang individual, kumpanya at lalong-lalo na sa ating gobyerno sa tuloy-tuloy na pagbibigay tulong sa mga nabiktima ng nakaraang lindol.
Oo. Saan po ang evacuation center at sapat po ba yung resources po ng inyong probinsya?
Ang mga evacuation center po namin, iba-iba sa bawat barangay. Meron tayong mga evacuation center. So marami pa po ang nanatili dahil sa takot at pabalik-balik na aftershock. No? So para naman po aso na dahil sa marami rin tumutulong, meron pa tayong sufficiente or sapat na pagkain at tubig para sa mga nabiktima ng nakaraang lindol.
Okay. And how are the power and water lines and the signal also in the area?
So far stable naman po ang power namin dito, yung signal okay naman po. The only problem namin sa municipality of Manay is malaki talaga yung nasira sa mga pipes sa water system. Kaya kahapon ng umaga, nandoon tayo, pinulong natin yung provincial engineer team at saka DPWH engineer team upang pagtulong-tulungan na maayos na mabilis ang linya ng tubig po.
So ito po ay nasira dahil po sa earthquake?
Yes po, dahil po sa earthquake.
O na-damage po sila. Sa ngayon, ano po ang prediction po ninyo kung gaano katagal yung mga families kailangan manatili dito sa evacuation center? Medyo marami po yung nabanggit nyo, 752 totally damaged homes and 10,000 partially damaged. Ito po ay, do you foresee this to be a long rehabilitation? Gaano katagal po ang mga pamilya sa evacuation center?
Hindi po natin matansya ito dahil sa dami ng apektado at alam naman natin Pag nawalan ka ng bahay, napakahirap mong itayo, no? But anyway, by Friday, magbibigay na po ang provincial government ng financial assistance. Kasama natin ang municipal government para isahang bigayan sa mga totally damaged po ng mga houses.
And ano po ang mga kinakailangan sa ngayon to be able to rebuild these houses?
Actually po, nananawagan ako sa ating mga kababayan at sino man gustong tumulong. Nakikiusap po ako na sana may makapagbigay po ng mga construction materials para dahan-dahan matulungan natin makapagtayo ulit ng bagong bahay ang mga nasalanta na pamilya ng nakaraan din doon.
O construction materials po, mga pangbubong po ba yan? And semento?
Yes po, yes po.
Oho. But you are tapping into the emergency fund for the province, no? How much is the fund that you're seeing here that will be able to help in the recovery and reconstruction?
Wala pa po kaming cost estimate but nevertheless, pagbibigay po ang province of Davao Oriental ng initial na tulong sa mga totally damaged in the amount of 10,000. Then magbibigay rin po ang bawat munisipyo at city sa mga totally damaged. Then isusunod namin po bigyan ng tulong yung mga partially damaged po.
And then, bilang panghuli, no, kasi yun nga po, no, medyo, ito po ay long process, no? What are the, wala po talaga kayong prediction kung gaano katagal mananatili po sa evacuation center? I mean, given po yung impact.
As of now po, hindi pa namin matansya, no? Madepende po sa bilis ng tulong na maibigay natin at tulong na dumating sa atin para makapagawa sila ng bagong bahay po nila.
Pero sa mga hospital po natin, government buildings, schools, how are those buildings?
Actually, may mga assign na po tayo by department, by agency sa pag-assess at sa pagkukuni ng mga nasirang government structure upang maibalik natin sa normal ang kasalukuyang lugar namin dito sa probinsya ng Davao Oriental.
Pero dahil nakakaranas pa po kayo ng mga aftershock, medyo are we out of the woods or not yet? And also, in terms of food supply, meron pa po ba kayong kinakailangan?
So far po may mga dumarating tulong at dito naman sa provincial government ng Davao Oriental, initially nagpa-order na po tayo ng 200,000 food packs at 5 kilos each para ma-distribute na natin sa mga nabiktima ng nakaraan lindol.
Okay. Governor, sana po tumagal po ito at we are one with you in helping out our kababayans get back on their feet. We have houses damaged and also lives impacted. Ang school po, paano po yun? Kailan po magre-resume po ang klase?
Actually, ang arrangement po namin with the Department of Education, as long as na yung mga building ma-clear na pwede nang pasukan, automatically mag-resume po ang klase at yung iba naman na hindi pa na-inspect, huwag munang gamitin at huwag munang papasukan ng mga kabataan.
Okay. Sana nga po makabalik po agad ang ating mga kababayan dyan. 176,000 families affected by the major earthquake in Davao Oriental. In the meantime, maraming salamat po para sa inyong oras. Please do stay safe. And we call out, of course, for construction materials to be able to help the residents get back to their homes. That is the call out of Governor Nelson Dayanghirang. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you po. Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
A new Octa research survey showed most Filipinos are outraged over corruption in flood control projects and strongly support President Bongbong Marcos's move to expose the scandal. The tugon ng Masa survey found 60% feel angry, 30% feel fear or anxiety, and 9% feel disappointment or sadness, with anger highest among Gen Z and millennials. Meanwhile, a new social weather station survey showed public trust in President Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte has declined. Marcos's trust ratings have slipped to 43%, from 48% in June, while Duterte's dropped to 53% from 61%, her biggest dip this year.
Filipinos through this survey are sending a strong signal na zero tolerance for corruption. No? While the public supports the president's decision to confront wrongdoing, it expects a lot, di ba? Swift, transparent, credible action, including the punishment of offenders, the recovery of public funds, and long-term reforms to ensure clean, efficient governance. So hindi pwedeng PR lang to. Gaya nga ng nakikita natin, hindi pwedeng performative to.
Don't go anywhere. We got a special guest joining us live here today on Morning Matters. We have Atasha Mulak of Bad Genius coming right up. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. Tasha Mulak steps into the spotlight with her first solo lead role in the Filipino adaptation of Bad Genius, the series. She takes on the role of Lynn, a brilliant public school scholar who masterminds an elaborate cheating scheme. Tasha said the project was a dream come true, adding that she was honored to work with a talented team and determined to give her best performance. Joining Atasha in this series are Jairus Aquino, Gab Lagman, and Hyacinth Calyado, with support from Sarah Labati, Irma Adlawan, Romnix Hermenta, and Yayo Aguila. We have Atasha Mulak joining us today on Morning Matters. Welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me.
This is a dream come true. How?
Yes,
in what sense?
of course.
Is it the cheating part? To experience it? No?
Yes, of course. It was a very, very touching experience for me because my first project ko po and lead role. So of course there was the pressure and the challenges kasi bigat ng mga eksena. Pero sobrang grateful ako that I was able to work with this cast and this director. Very.
But it's actually, I say, kung naging pangarap mo ba yung maging in that position where you're very smart and have the capacity to actually make money out of cheating. Di ba? Parang ang ganda ng konsepto na yun. How did you play around with that idea and put it in the Philippine context from the original Thai film?
Actually, what's interesting with this show is that we embrace the Pinoy culture being family. So most of our sacrifices being made was really for our family. So being able to play a role that experiences real and raw emotions was for me truly something that I'm so happy to do. Because it's bringing me back to when I was a high school student. Alam mo naman yung stress with exams, final submissions, tapos friends, and then along the way, minsan, your friends, they have this rivalry, and the next thing you know, it was just one big misunderstanding. Kagaya yun sa Bad Genius po. So you kind of see the interesting dynamics and different colors of each character come together with one goal, pero hindi naman sobrang bad yung goal.
Tell us about your character, Lynn.
Yes. So si Lynn naman, she was an inborn genius. And I guess the similarities with me and Lynn is that our love for her father. Kasi just like me, I super love my father, and I'll do anything for him and my
Siyempre,
family.
yun si Aga Mulak. Lang naman.
Of course
Love din
naman.
namin siya.
Of course naman. And because of that, with Lynn, she along the way, because she's a scholar, of course, she meets all these different people, but she's not judgmental towards them. But the thing with Lynn that's very different from my personality is, si Lynn is very guarded. She always has her walls up. She's very observant, very kept to herself, until she doesn't need to be. And you'll see that later on in the show.
And how did you prepare for this role? Like, iba yung stepping into Lynn's shoes, no?
Yes.
She comes from obviously a different background.
Yes.
And how did you try to imagine yourself in her shoes?
In her shoes naman, it wasn't too difficult because we were all once a high school student. We were all once students. We all went through the same struggles with school. Of course, like we have our deadlines, our stress, the pressures of finishing, of completing school. And with Lynn, it was easier to dive in because everything she was experiencing was real, and it also came from personal experiences in the past. When I was still a high school student, or when I was a college student, living alone, of
Paano ba
course.
yung cheating yan? Paano ginagawa?
Iba yung cheating naman. Si Lynn naman, sobrang
Nung panahon ko,
matalino
nasusulat
doon.
lang sa table eh.
Yes. So, si Lynn naman, actually weird kasi I've never cheated in school. So, first time ko na-experience mag-cheat sa eksena, sabi ko, masaya pala. Pero, hindi naman yan yung point ng show, syempre naman. Because she had no choice. She had to come up with a system to make amends just for her family to provide, to help. To help the people around her without anyone suffering along the way. Kasi the goal was to help numerous people. And then eventually the story unfolds and you see different plots. Yes.
And how did you find the moral dilemmas encountered by Lynn? Because this is a story of ambition,
Yes.
story of moral choices,
Yes.
and having financial pressures all at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes. All I can say is the moral story with this is that the good will always win and the truth always comes out regardless. So no matter what it is, no matter what you're going for, what's going on in your life, just always pick the good. Because at the end of the day, kahit kung maisip ka na, if I'm gonna do this and it's kind of bad, it's going to come out and there will be consequences.
So nahuli si Lynn?
Di ko alam. Tingnan natin. Abangan na lang.
Papanood kasi, pero dito may mananagot. Hindi ka tulad sa tunay na buhay. Wala pang nananagot. Lalim na hugot, ano. How was it working with your co-actors, Jaira, Gab, Hyacinth?
Oh, it was a blessing. It was a pure treat kasi I was able to work with very experienced actors and I was so lucky that they were so kind. Every single scene, every single taping day, they were nothing but the nicest. And I was so lucky that ito ang cast ko, ito yung kasama ko. Tapos yung pong production team with the cameramen, we all became friends with the DOP, the producers, everyone got along.
But you as the lead role, how did you lead this team, and how is this different from your other jobs in the past?
I would say, it's very different from yung jobs ko sa past. Kasi yung job ko before this was hosting and it was very personality ko. True to yung personality ko, sobrang makulit, bubbly, fun, and then this is tackle something more serious. So, syempre naman kailangan maging serious dito. And being a leader, it didn't feel like that. It all felt like we were working together as a team. And I said to myself, the promise that I can give to everyone here is that basta I'll show up to set giving my best, my 100%. I can't shortchange myself and I can't cheat my way into making this good. I have to give it my all. And I'm happy that now that it's
You
done.
didn't feel the pressure
Of
carrying
course.
this lead role. You did.
There's pressure, of course. I felt the challenges and I felt the pressure. Pero at the end of the day, if you want something good, nothing comes easy.
Anong pinakamahirap na eksena para sa'yo?
Yung mahabang dialogue ng Tagalog. Yung totoo lang. Yung mahabang monologue. Pero minemorize ko lahat ng mga lines ko. Minemorize ko word for word. Pero happy ako kasi I'm still learning Tagalog, of course. And I learned a lot along the way.
Magaling ka nga eh. In
Ay, salamat.
fairness, ano?
Thank you po. Thank you.
I mean, and how did your parents guide you through this journey? Anong sinasabi nila sa'yo? Kasi actually, nasubukan ko rin mag-act once. So, pero sa music video lang yon. Mahirap pa yung play of emotions. I mean, going from really happy to serious to one moment crying.
Yes.
Diba? Parang that whole range of emotions, you need to feel it.
Yes.
What is your strategy and how did your parents guide you through that?
I think they guided me secretly without having to be very vocal about it. Because what they did was, for both me and Andres, they let us experience a normal life. We had a very normal childhood. We went to school, we played a lot of sports, we made a lot of friends, whatever we were into. Of course, if we go through some troubles in life, then we experience it on our own. They always tell us, that's on us. It's our own choice. So if we do something bad, then expect the consequences. But if we do something good, at least you can leave it knowing that you did good. You had nothing but good intentions. And their advice here was that when you go into this, you've had so many years of experience, of real life experience. That's all you need in life, is just experience. And you're only gonna learn if you try.
How are your parents able to provide you that normal childhood? Anong nilagay nilang safeguards?
What they did was they kind of just protected us in a way where kahit anong gusto mong gawin, go lang. They never stopped us. They never reprimanded us. They never told us that you can't do this, you can't do that. They always advised us that this is not the right thing to do, pero maybe next time ganito. So it was always it was more advising, less more of a sermon na no, bawal ito, bawal ito. More like, you can do this is what's wrong, and this is what's good. But remember, always have a good heart in whatever you do. If your intentions are good, there's nothing to worry about.
But you didn't have a spotlight on you your whole childhood. Hindi ganon.
No.
Medyo nagtago din kayo.
We never really felt that feeling of a spotlight when we were younger. We would just play. We would just be kids, just have that normal life where I'm playing with my brother. We would meet people. We would play on the streets. We would experience all of these things. And we're so very grateful that we were able to experience that. And even when we went abroad for college, that was a different story. We were able to be alone by ourselves and survive, of course, those 3 years. As a college student, of course.
You went to college
nagtitipid.
here?
No, in the UK.
In the UK?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was a very different system, and we were all alone. So of course, there was adapting to different cultures, but nonetheless, it was still an experience.
But high school was here?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
What is the dynamic of mom and dad? I mean, may good cup, bad cup ba yan?
Wala
Ano
naman.
yung strength nila? And what have they imparted to you? Of course, we do know they're both into acting.
Yes.
Ano yung parang special skill
Ang special
na minana
skill?
ninyo o pinapamana sa inyo?
Actually, if I had to pick, I would want all of it, of course. Syempre naman, I would love to have all of their traits because I admire them more than just parents, more than just actors. I admire them as people because to me, they're the kind of people, they've always been so kind and selfless growing up. They've never dictated, they've never kind of said that, they've never judged anyone. They've always had such an open heart. And of course, as kids, of course, minsan sobrang makulit kami ni Andres, of course, but they were so kind about it. They always encouraged us to be ourselves. And they always said, just be yourself. And just remember, tandaan mo, basta, if your heart is good, you have nothing to worry about.
So you really want to take this track as an actress?
Of course.
Acting is the
Yes.
main talent you want to pursue?
I
Or
want
is
to
it
do
hosting?
everything as much as
Everything
I can.
that's
I would love to
possible.
try
Oo.
all, of course, because I'm still so young and I just started. So I kind of want to try everything, experience everything, and learn from there. Because the best place is to just start.
What's your dream role?
Dream role, action.
Action.
Action, siguro Jezebel. Yeah, Jezebel.
manifesting, ah.
Manifesting.
Hindi, pero okay, nag-aaral ka ng Tagalog kasi yan yung susi, no, sa tagumpay dito sa industriya.
Yes.
Pag magaling ka mag-Tagalog. But I kind of see your mom now. I mean,
talaga?
Yeah, after a while,
Thank
I
you.
see her. And both of them have grown up in, I mean, galing pa sila doon sa mga OG ng Philippine showbiz, di ba?
Yes.
So, sila yung mga trained in how you should conduct yourselves professionally in the set. So ano yung mga reminders nila sa'yo palagi?
ang remind you sila palagi is just to always have good intentions talaga and don't shortchange yourself. Don't think na kaya mo kasi, kunyari, if you have this responsibility to do, put the work behind it. Don't be shy to work. Just jump, take the risk, and go for it. And you never know what's gonna happen. Basta you keep on doing it. And you don't ever stop yourself from reaching your goals or trying
Mukhang
to
ang
achieve it.
ipinamana nila sa'yo ay lakas ng loob, ano?
Ay.
And it is a confidence that you would need and would take you through a role such as Lynn's and more in the future. How about for matters of the heart? Anong pinapayo nila sa'yo?
Matters of the heart.
Akala mo, makatakas ka.
Kaparehas pa rin po. Basta, I'm always nice, I have good intentions, I have no bad intentions towards anyone, then it's good.
So, pwede.
Pwede naman.
Pagmahal.
Pero work muna. Work pa muna tayo, di ba?
So, meron ba nagpapasaya sa'yo?
Work pa muna tayo, di ba? Yung work ko po is
Work.
making me happy.
Yun
I'm so
din yung
lucky.
sinabi ko dati, puro work.
Yes.
Oo, huwag mo lang masyadong patagalin. Maraming salamat. When can we watch The Bad Genius?
Yes,
And
malapit
where?
na. October 18, dito na sa TV5.
October 18.
Yes.
How many
October
days?
18. 3 days na, malapit na.
Malapit na. What time can we watch this?
6:45.
6:45 p.m. on TV5. We have Atasha Mulak playing Lynn in the Philippine adaptation of The Bad Genius. We look forward to that role and more. And excited for what's ahead for your career. Maraming salamat for joining us. We got Atasha Mulak here on Morning Matters.
Thank you.
And that wraps up today's episode. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Hall. We are One News, all sides, all the time.